via Facebook streaming, YouTube streaming, and also via Skype. Each one of you is welcome to this live streaming. Absolute can be described in two ways. Sutras of Vigyan Bhairav Tantra. In order to understand the absolute, the unknown, the unknowable, we have to go through the physics. Physicists say that now we have come to the electron and we have come to the limit, to the very limit, because the electron cannot be said to be matter. Electron cannot be said to matter. That is why Albert Einstein was in difficulty. He said, it does not move. What can I do when its movement is erratic? Sometimes it moves like a straight line, other times it waves. Nothing can be said. Electron cannot be said to be matter, because matter means that which is visible. Electron is not visible. Electrons are not visible. They have no material property, and they cannot be called non-matter, because all matters consist electron. Whatever element you take from the periodic table, it carries neutron, electron and protons in different configurations. It is not matter, cannot be said to be matter, because electrons are not visible. They have no material property, and they cannot be called non-matter, because all matter consists of them. All matters are constituted of electrons. If they are neither matter nor non-matter, then what we can call them? No one has seen electron, but they have just inferred. It is mathematically assumed that they are there. Their effects are known, but they have not been seen. Now we cannot move beyond that. The law of three is the ultimate limit. If you move beyond the three, the law of three, you move into the unknown. Nothing can be said then. Even about electrons, very little can be said. It cannot be called matter, and it cannot be called non-matter. It cannot be part of matter because it is not visible, and electrons have no material property. But it cannot be called non-matter at the same time, because every matter consists of them. We cannot see electron, but we can infer on the basis of mathematics. Mathematically, it can be assumed that electrons are there. Their effects are known, but they cannot be seen. The same is the situation with the absolute. It cannot be seen. Those who talk about that, have you seen God? They talk about ignorance. They talk out of ignorance. So this, you cannot move beyond the law of three. And if you move, the law of three is known, beyond that is unknown. Nothing can be said then, and in fact, very little can be said about electrons. Om, the existential sound, is the limit as far as sound is concerned. You cannot move beyond. That is why Om has been used so widely in India and world over. Even NASA says that the sound of the movement of the sun and other planets resembles with that of the Om. And there are videos of it which Hindus has been always saying that Om is the ultimate existential sound. Christians, Mohammedans use the word Amin. It is nothing else but Om in a different form. It has the same basic notes as Om. Besides that, the English word omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient refers to some extent a part of Om. The word omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient contains the prefix omni. The prefix omni is a derivation of Om. So omnipresent refers to that which is present in the whole of the Om, the whole of the existence. Omnipotent means that which is absolutely potent, and omniscient means that which has been seen. The Om, the whole, the law of three, the whole universe comes under this law of three. Christians, Mohammedans are using the word Amin after their prayers, and Hindus have made a complete science out of it, the science of sound, the science of how to transcend beyond the sound. And if mind is sound, then no mind is soundlessness, and both means the same, soundfulness. This has to be understood. The Absolute can be described in either of the two ways, negative or positive. The relative has to be described in both ways, negative and positive, because Absolute can only be described in relative ways. It is duality. When you try to express the Absolute, you can use either positive terms or negative terms, because human language have these two types of terms. Language does not have anything beyond the two terms, negative and positive. Beyond the two is transcendence. When you look at your electric bulb, there is positive current that comes from outside, and the negative comes from the source itself. And when the two neutralize one another, there is illumination. This illumination is neither positive nor negative. When you are going to describe the Absolute, the indescribable, you have to use some terms only symbolically. So it depends on the mind. For example, Buddha used the negative terms. He would say soundlessness. The silence. Soundlessness is not silence. He would never say soundfulness. Soundfulness is a positive term and soundlessness is a negative term. Buddha will say soundlessness. But Tantra uses the positive term. The whole thinking of Tantra is positive. That's why the term is used here in this sutra, soundfulness. It says enter soundfulness. The sutra of the Vijnana Bhairav Tantra, Shiva tells Devi, enter soundfulness, the sound of Om. Buddha describes his absolute in negative terms and calls it Shunya or nothingness. Upanishads describe this same absolute as Brahman, the absoluteness. Brahman does not mean the Pandit. Buddha will use nothingness and Upanishads use absoluteness, but both mean the same thing. In what way? When words lose meaning, you can use either negative or positive, because all words are either negative or positive. You just have to choose one. You can say for a liberated soul that he has become the whole. This is a positive way of saying. Or you can say he is no more. He has become nothingness. Both are correct. In one of the posts it is said, I am in all and all in me. You can say that he is no more, he has become nothingness. Both are the same way of saying it. Let us take an example. A small drop of water meets the ocean, merges into it. And what happens to the drop? Drop merges into the ocean, and in that process it becomes nothingness. Why it becomes nothingness? Because it loses its identity. Right? Drop merges into the ocean, loses its identity, loses its individuality, it becomes nothingness. You cannot see the drop. This is Buddhist way of saying things. It is good. It is right as far as it goes. Because no word goes very far. So as far as it goes, it is good. The drop is no more as drop. That is what is meant by nirvana. The drop has become non-being, non-existence. It is not. Or you can use the Upanishadic term. Upanishad will say the drop has become ocean. The drop has become ocean, and they are also right. You can see the drop merges into the ocean, it loses its individuality, it loses its significance, This is nothingness, negative way of saying things. But at the same time, the drop merging into the ocean becomes ocean. It becomes whole. So that statement, I am in all is in me. This is the positive way of saying things. Both is right. This is the word, these two words are used in Sufi terminology, fana and baka. Fana means dissolving the individuality into the whole. Drop merging into the ocean is fana. And ocean, and this is negative way. The drop loses its individuality, but it becomes in the process ocean. It becomes oceanic. Because it becomes oceanic, it is baka. It happened during the time of Hazrat Baqi-Billah Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu, who was the first master who came in 16th century from Afghanistan. He was sent by his master to come to India. So one day a disciple asked him, what is the meaning of fana and baka? So he told him, when the one who will do my namaz janaza, you ask him the meaning of this word. So it happened, the time went on. Hazrat Baqi-Billah Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu entered into Samadhi, and it was noticed that a man garbed in dark black clothes appeared, and he offered a namaz janaza. And when he finished the namaz janaza, he was disappearing. Same time, this Shagird disciple remembered the words of Baqi-Billah. He followed him and he held on to his arm, and he said, Hazrat Baqi-Billah told me that the one who will offer my namaz janaza, you ask him the meaning. So he removed the veil, and it was Hazrat Baqi-Billah Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu, but in subtle form, sukshma sharir. What it happens, the subtle body manifests itself on the physical body. So he said, the one whose namaz janaza I offered was fana, and what you are seeing me and the one who is speaking to you is baka. Let me explain this to you. It happened, masters have exhibited fana and baka simultaneously. It happened with Sheikh Brij Mohan Lal, my grandfather. One of his disciples, this happened with the two, one of his disciples said that it is my wish that when it is my last time, you be with me at the last moment when the soul is leaving the body. So this person was living in Lucknow, and Braj Mohan Lal was in the city of Fatehpur, almost a distance of 200 to 300 miles or kilometers away from one another. It was the evening time. Braj Mohan Lal, he was having the evening meditation. So he opened his eyes and told to someone that Mr. Ram Gopal Mehrotra is no more. Mr. Ram Gopal Mehrotra is no more. While he was in 300 miles away in the city of Fatehpur, in this meditation session, he mentioned that Ram Gopal Mehrotra is no more. And there, simultaneously, here he is explaining that, but simultaneously he appeared near the deathbed of the gentleman, and he and every family member saw him there. He said, Guruji, this was my ultimate wish, that you be with me in the moments when the soul leaves the body. So he remained there for a few minutes and he said, I am in a hurry. So when it is time for the funeral rites, according to the Hindu system, the 10th day and the 13th day ceremony, you send a note. Nobody else knew that. Only the family of the deceased knew that the master appeared. It was not for them that the master appeared. It was for them the master came at the last moment. And to the person to whom he mentioned that Ram Gopal Mehrotra is no more, he knew. After some time the letter came in saying that on such and such date my father passed away, and as was his last wish, the Guruji was present at that moment. So everybody thought that this Sheikh was in the city, sitting in the congregation with meditation, and there the people, this was, when I heard this, I was told by the person to whom Sheikh mentioned. I told him, this is fana, what he told you. It is an example of fana, and what the deceased family experienced, is baka. And so simultaneously the masters can, in case of Baqibullah, to the disciple he showed it at the time of the funeral, and Sheikh Braj Mohan Lal gave the experience of fana and baka. To one he gave the experience of fana, to the one who was physically present with him in the city of his residence, the example of fana. To the other, he gave the experience of baka. But none of them, if you are not aware, you will not know that this is an example of fana and baka. You will not know. It needs a deep understanding of the absolute. How absolute can be explained through fana and baka. Fana is a negative way. The drop is merging into the ocean, losing its significance, losing its identity. It becomes shunya, nothingness. This is Buddha's way. But in a way, the moment it merges into the ocean, it becomes absolute. The quality of the ocean comes to the drop. Drop loses its significance as an individual, but it becomes oceanic. And this is the Upanishadic way of absoluteness, or in Sufism it is called Baka, subsistence in Allah. So these are simply attitudes. Buddha likes the negative because the moment you say nothing, you say anything possible, it becomes limited. When you say anything is possible, it becomes limited. It looks limited. Drop has its limits, but ocean is limitless. When you say drop has become the ocean, Buddha will say ocean is also finite from the angle of the drop. It is relative. Drop remains the drop. It has become a little bigger. That is all. However bigger it becomes makes no difference. Buddha will say that it has become a little bigger, but it remains. The finite has not become infinite. The finite has not become infinite. This is why when it is said, one attains to enlightenment, emerges into the whole, but he still remains. He still remains in the physical form. He is still finite. Still he will go through all the rigors, the dissolution of the body, decomposition, the ailments, and so it is a different matter that he will not experience the pain the way you do. This is why there is a beautiful word, Vedana. It comes from the root Ved. Ved means to with, to know. Vedana means pain. And Ved means both, the awakening, the deep understanding. So the word has the two meanings. When you are going through this process, when there is pain, you know the moment you transcend the pain, you get awakening. But if you are afraid of pain, then you cannot get awakening. So to attain to awakening, you have to go through the pain. The physical pain you're going through, you reach to the transcendence. You are beyond pain. So the masters are beyond pain. So they have become a little more. They are awakened. They have attained to awakening that the body undergoes the same thing, but they are so much attained to a certain amount of beyondness that they do not feel the rigor of pain the way you will feel. Sheikh Ramchandra Lalaji Razillah Talaunu was in excruciating pain, but the pain did not affect his message. The consciousness, the energy field, the tawajjuh. So Buddha says the drop has become a little bigger, but it still remains a drop. The finite remains finite. It becomes a little more. After awakening, Osho, Buddha became a little more. Buddha went through the pain. of when he had the stomach problem. So what is the difference? A small drop and a big drop. So for Buddha, this is the only difference between ocean and the drop, and it is right mathematically also. So Buddha says that the drop has become the ocean, then nothing has happened. If you have become God, then nothing has happened. Instead, you have become a bigger man, more aware. You have become the Brahman. Nothing has happened. You are still finite. You will go through the decomposition of the body. So Buddha says that you have to become nothing. You have to attain to emptiness, empty of all the boundaries and the absolute, empty of everything that you can conceive of, just emptiness. But the Upanishadic thinkers will say, even if you are empty, you have become emptiness, but you are still there, because emptiness exists. Emptiness is, nothingness is the way of the being, the absolute, the way of existence. So they say, why unnecessarily use negative terms? It is good to be positive. There is no contradiction between the two. It is for the matter of understanding. It is your choice. But Tantra always uses the positive term. The very philosophy of Tantra is positive. It says, do not allow no, do not allow the negation. Tantrics are the greatest of sayers. They have said yes to everything. So they use the positive terms. Sutra says, intone a sound as Om. Slowly as the sound enters soundfulness, intone a sound as Om. This is soundfulness. Slowly as sound enters into soundlessness, so do you. When you create a sound, there is soundfulness. Then the sound disappears and there comes soundlessness, emptiness. These things go simultaneously. A sound is created, like you hear an echo. Slowly and slowly the echo dies. The sound disappears, dies. But it remains lingering in your ears like the dissolving notes of an enchanting melody that remains. So as you intone a sound as Om, slowly, and as you enter soundlessness, so you do. You also enter into soundlessness. After giving the basic explanation, I will go into the sutra. This is the first sutra in the next session. Until then, take care and do have a pleasant day.